Welcome to Moments in History channel. Have you ever wondered what makes a person a legend? Is it their brilliance, their ambition, or the sheer force of their will? Today, we're diving into the life of a man who had all three in spades, Napoleon Bonaparte. He was a military genius, a revolutionary reformer, and an emperor who redrew the map of Europe. But was he a hero or a tyrant? A visionary or a warmonger? Let's find out together. Born in 1769 on the rugged island of Corsica, Napoleon wasn't French by birth, a fact his detractors never let him forget. Yet from these humble beginnings, he would rise to become the master of France. His journey began in the chaos of the French Revolution. While others saw turmoil, Napoleon saw opportunity. He joined the army and quickly made a name for himself. His mind was a weapon, seeing battlefield strategies that no one else could. He was charismatic, inspiring unwavering loyalty in his soldiers, who affectionately called him the Little Corporal. His first real taste of glory came in Italy. Between 1796 and 1797, he led a series of brilliant campaigns, outmaneuvering and defeating larger Austrian armies. He wasn't just winning battles, he was winning hearts and minds, presenting himself as a liberator. These victories sent shockwaves through Europe and made him a national hero back in Paris. He was the man of the hour, the savior of the Republic. Next, he set his sights on a more exotic prize, Egypt. The 1798 campaign was a bold, almost reckless move intended to disrupt British trade routes to India. While the military results were mixed, his fleet was famously destroyed by Admiral Nelson at the Battle of the Nile. The expedition had a massive cultural impact. His team of scholars and scientists rediscovered ancient Egyptian wonders, sparking a worldwide fascination with Egyptology that continues to this day. More importantly for Napoleon, it cemented his image as a man of grand vision, a modern-day Alexander the Great. Returning to France, he found a government in disarray. The Directory was weak, corrupt, and unpopular. Seeing his moment, Napoleon didn't hesitate. In 1799, in a daring coup d'etat, he seized power, becoming First Consul of France. It was a pivotal moment. The Republic was effectively over, and the age of Napoleon had begun. Initially, he ruled as part of a triumvirate, but everyone knew who was really in charge. Within a few years, he would consolidate his power, and in 1804, in a grand ceremony at Notre Dame Cathedral, he did the unthinkable. He took the crown from the Pope's hands and placed it on his own head, crowning himself Emperor of the French. As Emperor, Napoleon proved to be as brilliant an administrator as he was a general. He launched a series of sweeping reforms that would forever change France and serve as a model for the world. He centralized the government, streamlined the bureaucracy, and reformed the nation's finances, creating the Bank of France. He overhauled the education system, establishing the lycées, secondary schools focused on standardized, merit-based education. But his most enduring legacy is undoubtedly the Napoleonic Code. Before Napoleon, France's legal system was a chaotic mess of feudal laws and local customs. He commissioned a group of legal experts to create a single, unified civil code. This code enshrined principles of the Revolution, like legal equality for all male citizens, the right to property, and religious freedom. It was clear, logical, and exported to every corner of his expanding empire. Even today, the Napoleonic Code forms the basis of the legal systems in dozens of countries across Europe, Latin America, and beyond. It was a revolutionary act of modernization. Of course, Napoleon's empire was built on military conquest. He forged the Grand Army, the most formidable fighting force of its era. This was a new kind of army, based on merit, speed, and devastating new tactics. With this incredible machine, he achieved some of the most legendary victories in military history. Think of the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805, often called his masterpiece. Facing a larger combined force of Russian and Austrian troops, Napoleon used deception and brilliant maneuvering to lure them into a trap, shattering their armies and cementing his dominance over Central Europe. The following year, at the Battle of Jena, he utterly crushed the once mighty Prussian army in a single day. Then came Wagram in 1809, another hard-fought but decisive victory against the Austrians. By this point, from Spain to Poland, most of continental Europe was either directly under his rule or controlled by his allies and puppet states. He was the master of the continent. But empires built on constant warfare are inherently unstable. His ambition was boundless, and it started to become his undoing. The long, brutal war in Spain, known as the Spanish Ulcer, drained French resources and manpower. And Britain, protected by the Royal Navy, remained a persistent, implacable enemy. Unable to invade, Napoleon tried to cripple Britain economically with his continental system, a blockade against British goods. But this policy backfired, causing hardship across Europe and fueling resentment against French rule. The turning point, the beginning of the end, was the catastrophic invasion of Russia in 1812. Assembling the largest European army ever seen, over 600,000 men, Napoleon marched on Moscow. But the Russians refused to give him the decisive battle he craved. Instead, they retreated, burning their own land and cities, including Moscow itself. Left without supplies as the brutal Russian winter set in, Napoleon was forced into a horrifying retreat. Starvation, freezing temperatures, and relentless Cossack raids decimated the Grand Army. Of the more than 500,000 men who went in, fewer than 100,000 staggered out. It was a disaster on an unimaginable scale. The myth of Napoleon's invincibility was shattered. Seizing the opportunity, a coalition of European powers, Russia, Prussia, Austria, and Britain, rose against him. Despite fighting with his old brilliance, Napoleon was now outnumbered and overwhelmed. In 1814, the Allies captured Paris, and he was forced to abdicate. His punishment? Exile to the tiny island of Elba in the Mediterranean. For a man who had ruled a continent, it was a gilded cage. But the story wasn't over. While the old monarchies of Europe squabbled over the spoils of war, Napoleon was plotting. In March 1815, he escaped Elba, landed in France, and began a triumphant march to Paris. The soldiers sent to arrest him instead flocked to his banner, chanting, "Vive l'Empereur!" He reclaimed his throne without a single shot being fired. This dramatic comeback is known as the 100 Days. The powers of Europe, however, were not about to let him rule again. They quickly declared him an outlaw and assembled their armies for one final showdown. That confrontation came on June 18, 1815, on a muddy field in modern-day Belgium, the Battle of Waterloo. It was a titanic clash of giants, Napoleon against the British Duke of Wellington and the Prussian Gebhard von Blücher. For hours, the battle raged, hanging in the balance. But in the end, the timely arrival of the Prussian forces sealed Napoleon's fate. The Grand Army was broken, and Napoleon's dream died with it. This time, there would be no comfortable exile. The British sent him to St. Helena, a remote, windswept rock in the middle of the South Atlantic Ocean, thousands of miles from anywhere. It was here, under constant guard, that he spent the last 6 years of his life, dictating his memoirs and crafting his own legend for posterity. He died on May 5, 1821, at the age of 51. So, what is the legacy of Napoleon Bonaparte? It's a complex tapestry of genius and tyranny, of progress and destruction. His wars cost millions of lives, and his ambition plunged a continent into chaos. Yet, the Napoleonic Code he created still influences laws worldwide. The administrative and educational systems he built helped forge modern France. He was a symbol of what one person, through sheer talent and willpower, could achieve. Admired and reviled, Napoleon remains one of history's most fascinating and monumental figures, a man whose life proves that genius, ambition, and destiny can change the world, for better and for worse. What do you think? Was Napoleon a hero who modernized Europe, or a megalomaniac who bled it dry? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into history, please give this video a thumbs up. And subscribe to Moments in History channel for more deep dives into the lives of incredible figures. See you next time.